It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley. As we begin a Monday, Gary, what's happening?
Not much. You got a little bit of a voice, huh?
It's, I think it's making its way back, I think.
Have some coffee.
Mm-hmm.
That'll do
I'm
the
having
job.
more than that. I don't even know what that means.
You know, before we get to all the stuff out there, I have to go back to late last week and Corinne Jean-Pierre after they got back from their trip.
Yeah.
And it was like every single question. The White House press corps finally calling them out on lies. Finally.
Yeah.
3 years and 11 months
On their
in.
way out the
and
door.
they're shocked. Oh, we can't believe you've lied to us. I mean, what's going on? I mean, is this going to continue? What do you think about the fact that you were for such a long time you were parroting what could be viewed as lies? Oh my God! It was
For all we know, the border's not secure.
Yeah, I just.
Are you saying inflation isn't transitory?
Yeah. And it's the funny thing is, it's like they're so passionate about it and so insulted about it, and it's just like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah,
it's like, well,
no, I really think this is part of the, we let you get away with it. Now everybody can see it, so we're going to have to act as if we're shocked about it, which you look stupid when you're doing that. But it's a weird kind of virtue signaling. We didn't know. We trusted you. Come on. Give me a break. But I really think a lot of that's going on right now on his way out the door.
Yeah.
You guys picked him in 2020. He was your guy. To the liberal mainstream activist media, look, you need to take a sabbatical from the liberal and give it 30 days. Let it wear off. You'll see a lot more.
The Liberal is a drug. If you just tuned in right now, we came up with that last week. That's the drug they're taking, Liberal.
Right. And maybe take some Conservatol. Now, you don't want to cross the two. Don't take the two at the same time. Weird things can happen. You could end up marrying James Carville.
All right, here we go. You ready? All right, this audio here from the press conference.
To understand that sentence, I think it's important.
Yeah,
is it
sure.
that the president believes in the justice system, except in some cases?
He believes in the justice system. He believes the facts are. Obviously, I talked about the gun charges, what legal experts have said. Former prosecutors have all agreed virtually no one would be criminally prosecuted for underlying factors of Hunter's case. I talked about the gun charges. I talked about the taxes, the tax cases. And there are other factors here, what Republicans have said, as they weren't going to let up. I talked about the upcoming sentencing and what Hunter and his family have been through. I talked about the appointees by the incoming president on law enforcement positions, and he wrestled with it. He did. And I also talked about what Jim Clyburn said. So you're asking me about an apology, but Jim Clyburn said himself in a conversation that he had with the president just 2 weeks ago, the president said the president was reticent when he encouraged the president. When he himself, Jim Clyburn, encouraged the president to move forward with it, Congressman Clyburn, the president, responded to him by saying he was reticent. And so this was not an easy decision. It wasn't. It wasn't an easy decision.
Wasn't an easy decision.
And
shut up! Wasn't an easy decision.
Yeah,
oh my
right.
God! It's just like
you mean the decision that was going to happen all along and everybody knew it?
Wow. And then it continues. Here we go.
Zeke asked this question, I just didn't hear an answer. The next
So after she did all that, she goes, I asked a question, I never got an answer. So here we go.
time that the president says he will or won't do something, why should the American people believe him?
I answered that question. I don't have anything else to add.
What is
I
your answer?
answered the question.
Can you
I
explain
answered
it in
the
a way
question.
that's understandable?
I can't speak to you understanding the question or not, or my answer or not on this. I don't have anything else to say. I'm not going to relitigate this. I did that on Monday for 30 minutes. I went back and forth. I laid out. I said, please read the president's really comprehensive statement on this. And I even said the last paragraph of that statement, he talks directly to the American people. And that's how I answered that question.
Can you acknowledge that it may have been a mistake by the president, you, to say multiple times, unequivocally, that he would not pardon his son?
The president laid out in that statement what changed, why his mind changed, how he wrestled with this decision. The president laid that out.
It's all a lie, by the way. And that's why they keep asking the same questions and continue doing it every time they had an opportunity last week. It never ended. This question was the exact same. The whole press corps, this is the amazing thing, the whole press corps knows she's lying, but they know she's lied many times before, and they didn't seem to care. And all of a sudden, on his way out the door, where Democrats have lost completely, now they're upset about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the same old, and or they're pretending they're upset about it. This is again, the left has been done with Joe Biden since, I don't know, probably about halfway through his first year, when he got a lot of the things done that they wanted through executive order. At that point, there was great consideration. Is he going to run for a second term? And then if he did, would he have Kamala Harris stay on the ticket? I mean, all of these things that have happened during his presidency, he is anything but a rock star. Joe Biden is very easy to compartmentalize as an individual if you've been paying attention for the last, 50 years.
My focus is on the White House press corps at the moment, though, and it's just the White House press corps. They're tools of the Democrats, and they've been tools of the Biden administration. I want to play this audio cut. This is Associated Press now. Here we go.
Question. In your first briefing here, as press secretary, you committed to speaking to the American people in, and I quote, in a transparent way, in a truthful way, and an honest way.
Yes.
And then in July, here at this podium, you were asked about the president pardoning his son, and he said, it's a no, it will be a no, it's a no.
Yes, and that is
so
exactly right.
Of the president's son and that pardon, it became a yes. I'm wondering if you would like to explain to us, the American people, really why the information that you provided turned out not to be true.
And I answered this question on Monday. We spent about 30 minutes on this, almost 30 minutes, roughly 30 minutes on this.
Well, she didn't answer the question. That's why they keep answering it, and she didn't answer it again. And that's my point. It's for people to understand that the White House press corps, except maybe for a few, maybe New York Post and Ducey at Fox News, they're all trying to cover for themselves as if they're real journalists, but they're not. But they're furious now that they've been made fools of, that they bought into it. Look, it doesn't make any sense. Well, no. Well, if Trump is elected, nope, no pardon after the election. Well, Trump's been elected. Any part? Nope. Oh, we changed the mind because Trump may go after him. Well, yeah, but you're talking about those charges. There are no charges. Yeah, but Trump may go after anyone, and so that's why the whole thing of the pardons for other people have come up. But they answered that question already when they knew that if Trump got elected, what he would do. They lied to the American public. We all know they lied to the American public. NBC reported that they were talking about this all the way back last summer, and they planned to lie about it. And they did. They lied about it. NBC, the NBC report, they lied about it the whole time. Mm-hmm. They had discussed this way back when. Everybody knew he lied about it. The press corps knows he lied about it, and she continues to gaslight over and over and over and over again. But this is to me, this is not, Biden always is going to lie. He's a pathological liar. She's a pathological liar. It is the White House press corps that's attempting to sell to you again that they're honest media, and they're not.
Well, that's it. That's where the virtue signaling is. We can't believe that we put our trust in you. You're talking about Joe Biden. Again, if you've been following him for 50 years, you should know this. anybody with a brain. And they've been covering Biden as a senator, then vice president, then candidate, and then president. You ignored the lies. You're either a complete fool or you're lying that you're upset. You either bought into it hook, line, and sinker, and I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what your profession should be, but it shouldn't be journalism. Remember when there were the two reporters at the New York Times that got upset that the Clintons lied to them?
Yeah.
Remember that? Remember that story? It's like, are you kidding me? The Clintons? Hillary and Bill?
They lied to us.
You're upset that they lied to you? Well, the thing is you got to cover your tracks when you do a story, and you help them spread their lies. You didn't once say, wait a minute, something seems wrong here. Just like in the White House press corps right now. Pete's not the only one sitting in that room saying that doesn't sound right. But they do nothing. They want to get the talking points, by the way, that this administration, remember, they refused to give them their talking points. Look, just let us help spread your lies, and they wouldn't give them to them. The liberal activist media has been all over the place with this president, going out of the way to help him lie. And yet they won't cooperate because Joe's defiant at every turn to everybody. And it's getting worse with whatever cognitive issue he has. And it's on you. If you believed it, if you truly believed it, you're a fool. Otherwise, you're lying. You didn't believe it ever, and you just didn't do your work. It's easier just to write the talking points for yourself. You know, that's where the activist media actually had to go. They actually had to write their talking point. Remember, everybody was coming up with their own excuses for Biden on certain moves, or Biden when he was, had cognitive issues. They were trying to explain away everything and defend him. They had to write their own talking points to do it, because Karine Jean-Pierre is not capable of writing any talking points for anybody. I don't think she could write her own. And this is where they landed. That's why it seems so disorganized. Well, because there's no one at the top. He's not home. He's got cognitive issues, and he's also defiant and arrogant. And nobody's going to tell him, Jack. They told me I can't take questions. I'm going to take questions. First question. What about Hunter? We're not taking questions. I mean, this has been going on all along. We said it. Oh, wait, who was it? It was, what's his name? Over at CNN. That, did the thing on the Zoom call that he wasn't supposed to do.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, we don't know what to do about Hunter Biden. Saying we in the media.
Remember that, yep.
Yeah, you do. Report on it.
I just love the question. So what you're saying is he believes in the Justice Department in some cases. That was one of my...
His trust is transitory.
That was one of my favorites. And then I got to find the one where I thought I kept it. Oh, here it is. Yeah. About Biden avoiding reporters. Okay, right. Here we go.
The president just got back from a multi-day trip to Angola, where he engaged the press, I think literally one time, just to quickly confirm that he was getting briefed on the situation in Korea.
Yep.
His last foreign trip, it was 6 days in South America. As you know, he didn't engage reporters during that trip. After that last trip, he told us in this briefing room that he believes in the value of engaging the press. He enjoys it, you said. He will continue to engage reporters. There will be opportunities to talk to him. So why is it that he is avoiding reporters?
Look, we still have 45 days left in this administration.
There you go. I mean, you just right there. I mean, we don't have to go any further. But it's because my focus is on the not how she responds, because she's just a pathological liar and deflects.
Yeah,
she's not going to. We all know he's avoiding reporters, still avoiding reporters.
Yeah.
and continues to avoid, reporters. And when he was out even talking about Syria, he was like, oh, my God, just don't speak anymore. And you ask yourself, who the hell is running the White House?
Well,
that's a serious question, by the way. Who the hell is running the White House?
The clearest he sounded is the day he came in and took over the press briefing room, and threw Kamala Harris under the bus. We were like, wow, that Joe Biden probably would have done okay, or at least better at the debate.
Yeah, just bizarre. We got a great show ahead, 866-90-RED-EYE.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. It pays to have a tire maintenance routine, especially during the winter driving season. Between black ice and heavy snowfall, winter weather can impact your tires and your productivity in a number of ways. Here's a tire maintenance tip to help you avoid downtime and roll safely through winter. Check your tire pressure during every pre-trip inspection and make sure they're properly inflated according to the manufacturer's recommendations. Cold weather naturally causes tire pressure to decrease, and underinflated tires can wear faster and impact your fuel efficiency. Maintaining proper tire pressure is essential to maximizing the performance, safety, and lifespan of truck tires.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
Red Eye Radio, he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Now, you wonder, what's going on, with the White House press corps. Now, remember, they represent the establishment media, and over the weekend, a bunch of Democrats got together at Harvard to talk about, one of the problems of the Harris campaign. This is Harris's deputy campaign manager, Rob Flaherty.
Our amplification ecosystem is the mainstream media in Hollywood. And the mainstream media in Hollywood, don't really mess with us, or they're not like actually allies. And they're not where these voters who don't want to pay attention to politics are. Like, we're sitting here at Harvard at a big event with the mainstream media, and this is like voters out there that we actually needed to reach are not seeing this at all, and they're not seeing mainstream media at all. And, I think fundamentally we have a mismatch between the amplification engine of the left and, the media of this moment, which is increasingly alternative, anti-establishment, all that stuff. And so that presents a real issue for us as the party of...
Why? Why? Nobody... I'm telling you, you've got a political party that just talks gibberish and never gets down to why. Why? Why isn't the public paying attention to Hollywood and the media? Look, you brought Hollywood. You brought in Hollywood. You were part of her campaign. You brought it in. It didn't work. Why didn't Hollywood work for you?
Number one, the issues. Number two, Hollywood's reach really isn't there anymore because of reality. It goes right back to the issues.
Right. Because
George Clooney is not going to pay your bills.
Everything goes back to the issues. The mainstream media are political activists, and Hollywood is clueless. And end of story. And they just can't get to the point that, and this is why I think there's part of the panic too in the White House press corps from the liberal journalist. They've got no power anymore, and they know it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So all of a sudden, okay, we're angry at the White House. You people are lying to us. You're lying to us. You're lying to us. Well, you were lying to your audiences and your viewers and your readers.
You look at Bezos and the changes he wants to make at the Washington Post.
Or the L.A. Times. You saw that
exactly.
One. You had one of the editors quit again. This is not the time for balance, he said.
Right, yeah.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And it's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here this morning. Interesting. We talked a little bit about it. I said the other day when you were gone that it's really not going to make much of a difference because the election is over, and this is the president being on with Meet the Press. I guess about 60% of it was on there. The interview was a lot longer than they actually put on. I think it was roughly around 60%. When you and I came in, I said to you, I really don't care anymore about the talking.
Yeah.
I really don't care anymore about the talk. I just don't care. Did Trump do good? Yeah, he did fine. You're not going to get the hype and hoopla over it at all because the election is over. And for me, the talking is over. I want Republicans, including the president, now to show me what they're going to do. I don't care about the talk anymore. I just don't.
There's so much work to be done. It has to be, look, building a consensus is always hard. Within your own party, it's hard. And on a number of items, they're going to have to build a consensus. They're going to have to literally hit the ground running. And we've always been this way, though. I mean, and the more we get into reality and beyond the abstract politically, first of all, the election is over. It's behind us. And Trump will never campaign for himself. He might campaign for others, but he won't campaign for himself for public office anymore. And so now it's about, building the consensus that has to be done on the items you need Congress on, or you want Congress on, that has to be done on the phone and on Capitol Hill, and the American people sent the message November 5th. Any question they're going to ask him on Meet the Press or anywhere else really has already been answered by the American people. We want this guy to do the job. And now it will be about, just as it always should be, as you go along, as you do things. It doesn't matter if I voted for you or not. If it's something I disagree with, we'll talk about it. If it's something that I think is great, you'll get a hearty congratulations. Look, I never thought the Republicans would get the capital or the corporate tax below 30%. I thought that would never happen. They got it to 21. And we give Trump that credit. I didn't see that happening. That's awesome. Get things done. And right now, we're in such, it seems like light years. Just the past 4 years is light years from where we were from his first term.
Oh, yeah.
Because of everything, all the mess. It's like there's this massive, huge Everest of a mountain between us and his first term. And this now has to be, this is where the work is done. The good news is I do believe coming in he has a greater consensus based on the turnout and the results of the election, but also based on the turn that you've seen within his own party.
Well, he's got a greater consensus maybe from the people. I don't know if he has a greater consensus from Congress at the moment, especially just having a one vote. The reality is you've only got one vote you can lose in the House right now. So what do you accomplish in the first 6 months?
Yeah, within his party, he's got to get the numbers. You've got to get the numbers to pass these things. And then you're going to have to convince on a couple of items, you're going to have to convince some Democrats to go along with you, and we'll see what happens there. There may be a few items that happens. I don't have any confidence. But now I have, and this is kind of what I was alluding to at the beginning, and that is, you see where the break still is, where the fissures still are on Capitol Hill within his own party. He's got a greater consensus than 2016, but he doesn't have the overwhelming consensus. He doesn't have enough on the head count to lose many votes, if any. And, in fact, in the Senate, they're going to have to work with some Democrats if they want to pass a couple of things, and I don't know what those would be. There may be some purple state Democrats that Gallego who comes on board for a thing or two. I don't know. We'll see. You and I talked about that before the election. We don't know. It's just all up in the air right now. And you have to work to get these things done. And the work now has to be done. The work now, it's critical. Because people are expecting the economy. This is the way they work. The rank and file expects the economy to start to improve day one. They want to see instant results. We're a society of that kind of immediate gratification. Hey, by July, they're going to go, hey, we thought. Well, it doesn't work that way. Now, I think there are some things that he's going to do day one, but in order for that effect to take, you're going to have to give it a minute.
Well, I think you're going to see, just because of so much he can do on executive action, on immigration, you're going to see stuff done there on extending the tax cuts. I don't know how complicated that's going to be on energy. On energy, what you basically have to do is take away the incentives for electric vehicles, but that's enshrined in the Inflation Reduction Act. Right. And so, how do you get rid of that? How do you get the nation more going towards nuclear and away from solar and wind? What about all those subsidies? Forget about electric vehicles. Right. There's going to be votes, for those on certain things. For example, drilling. He's going to be able to do that on executive, orders. So I think you're going to see, for example. No limits on arms for Israel, which is going to make our position in the Middle East, a little bit stronger. On NATO, will he pull out, or will he just get more of the NATO members to give their fair share? I think that's what he'll probably be able to get to do because of Ukraine and the threats from Russia. We know that on the international stage, in all likelihood, nobody's asked a specific question, but I'm going to guess he's going to put the ban on oil money for Iran, and so then you look at the situation in Syria where he says he's going to stay out of it. Well, remember, we still have a base in Syria, so it's going to be interesting to see where that all goes. There, it looks like the new government there has talked about the fact that they want a coalition government. We'll see whether that actually happens in Syria or not. But there are a lot of things that he can do. But if you're talking about the legislative portion of the fiscal narrative that's being thrown by Republicans right now, that they're going to cut, and they're going to cut big time, the jury's out on that. And it's interesting because after the interview with Welker on Meet the Press yesterday, I did see a couple of people say, he doesn't sound like a Republican. Oh, so you're calling now Trump a rhino? But when it comes to the they're promising a heck of a lot to conservatives. I mean, they're promising more to conservatives than conservatives could ever dream of. When it came to, remember, even last year. Well, we don't want these continuing resolutions. We want a budget, and now they're Now they're talking about getting rid of 2/3 of the bureaucracy in D.C. I mean, they're promising a ton of stuff. And you need Congress to do all of that. And when it comes to serious cutting in Congress, we'll see. We'll see if the president can get, or the Republicans can get, anything cut in the budget early next year.
It will be
The
interesting.
president.
I did see a story. I don't know why it floated again on my algorithm. It was 2 weeks old, from CNN, that the Department of Government Efficiency could lead to a problem with people leaving their jobs in the government. And I thought to myself, well, that's the whole point. On the back to work thing, going back to the office and forcing them to go back to the office. It was like, but if some of them actually decide to go voluntarily, they decide to leave their job, well, that's on them. And can we do with fewer people? But look, this is the concern, that we had going into the election season. It wouldn't matter. I really had this theory in my mind that a lot of Democrats, some Democrats, especially the ones that weren't on any ticket, were saying to themselves, you know what, if he wins, if Trump wins again, okay, great, let him clean up Joe Biden's mess. They all know the mess. They all know. Everybody knows the issues. They know the border, what's going on there. I mean, the mayors of Chicago and New York are all dealing with, border issues there. Think about this. And the inflation and everything that's hitting their constituents. But I'm confident that at least a handful of Democrats said to themselves quietly, all right, if Trump wins, let him deal with the mess. And then we come in at 28 and try and, regroup. I don't know what that looks like. You and I have been trying to figure out where they're going to go from here, which is beyond. We would have to take a lot of liberal. And I think the lieutenant governor of Texas is trying to outlaw liberal in Texas. But the whole thing on this, though, is that you really, you got to temper your expectations. He won. Huge positive. Republicans won. Barely. And now it's about going in and getting the work done. The team has to perform. And there are a lot of things that aren't in the way. As far as we know, there's not going to be another special counsel assigned to Trump. Although the Democrats, I'm sure they're dreaming up whatever they can right now. But there are things, most definitely there are things right now that weren't in play back then that are good for him coming in. But he's got, again, an Everest or two of a mountain to climb in the entire mess that Joe Biden and the Democrats have created. Oh, yeah. There's a tremendous mess, but that's why people put him in. Yep. You have to, they expect, again, they shouldn't expect it to happen overnight, but it's kind of how people work. But if you can demonstrate these are the things, I think he's done a good job during the transition on a couple of things. Like in that first week, they were announcing, okay, here's what we're going to do. Then, there's a lot of cabinet pick stuff now that's, still there on the table. People are talking about. But you're going to have to, the things you're going to have to do is you're going to have to be very vocal about, all right, this is what we're trying to get done. On the wall in his first term. Look, the GOP should have, there should have been a consensus building during that time within his own party. Let's get the money done for him to get it done. And we said back then, here's what we would say every day, a message on social media. Call your leaders, call your representatives, and tell them we need a wall on the southern border. Now, if you mentioned a wall back then, you were racist. And, it was a very different challenge. And I think there is some of that, or at least we've seen some of that in the transition so far. And instead of doing the rallies, again, you put out a message, hey, folks, we're trying to get this done. This is what we're working on. I think your surrogates are going to do most of that heavy lifting on those things for you. Well, Holman was great the last couple of days. I think he's been really Holman has been yep. A wonderful. Yep. What I didn't like, though, was the discussion of Trump and Welker on health care. Yeah. Where Trump was talking about how he is going to change health care and what he has to do, not the private sector. Right. But you got the thing, this is a government solution to all of health care. And as you and I said a long time ago, the biggest concern that we had about a second Trump term is because he's held many liberal views before, would the liberal views come to the forefront? It's interesting because the discussion I saw on social media, specifically on that one was, well, that's why we elected him, because he's not going to be like a normal Republican. It's like, oh, okay, so now a normal Republican is nationalized health care in some way. Right. And they didn't get specific on it, but you were listening going, all right, where are we going here? And he's got RFK if he gets confirmed. Yep. 866-98 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Uh-oh. We've started playing the Christmas music.
Crap.
When we hear it, it's like, oh, boy, okay, can we talk Christmas stuff?
Yeah. All right, fine.
But, yeah, so and when you were gone Friday, I said, look, I don't know why he's doing the interview with Welker. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. And it didn't, even though I thought he did a pretty good job. For Trump, I thought he did a pretty good job in the interview. But my first reaction is, okay, fine. I know what you're going to do. I know what you said you're going to do. Do it.
Right.
It's like I want the next month and a half to go by very, very quickly here.
Yeah.
Top of the hour news is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America. We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
See, I just saw this. I'm going to make sure we hit on this because it's really fascinating to see, a month after the election, Democrats still trying to figure out what went on, and they can never get right to the point. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about the Democrats in Congress, the actual politicians. Mm. Some of the people in the pack, you and I talked about, what is it, Lindsay Lee?
Yeah, Lindy Lee.
Lee, yeah. And it's like, why isn't she a Republican? You hear her talking, you're like, how could you possibly be a Democrat? But this story Fox had the other day, a Democratic strategist who helped President Obama win Florida in 2008 says his party needs a major overhaul if it wants to win future elections. It's time for us to stop talking about 2024. He said, the real conversation is how my party went from the broadest electoral mandate of the previous 25 years with the biggest majority in the Senate in the previous 30 years to a shell of itself, a political organization that can hardly be classified as a national entity anymore. The Democratic Party suffered major setbacks, as we know, up and down the ballot here in 2024. Shalley warned that Democrats were on a losing streak in Florida, Ohio, and Iowa, and it was only going to get worse if they didn't make real structural changes to the party. Now, just like you're reading this and you're like, what's your point? What's your point? What do you blame? Why are you in the particular situation that we're in? We understand the demographic shift.
Yeah.
Why is that happening? What is it precisely you believe?
Right.
Well, his suggestions include spending more money earlier on ads, addressing crime and the economy, and dealing with the right's advantage in the podcast and social media sphere by building their own ecosystem to deliver information to their base and persuadable voters. But Shalley said these strategies wouldn't work if the party didn't also change its messaging to broaden its coalition.
Well, first of all, quit using words like ecosystem when you're talking about podcasts. I mean, seriously, man. They don't get it at all. It's the issues. What are you going to talk about?
Well,
what are you going to say?
He gets a little closer here where he says, quote, the truth is we got here because our brand sucks. We tend to put voters in different buckets. Black, Hispanic, young, gay, and treat these groups like they are more progressive than they really are. And somehow unique from each other. At the same time, we've made decisions to stop talking to large chunks of the electorate. The party needs to return. This is the one I just love. Needs to return to investing in all 50 states. Shut up. But we have a bigger problem. Sure, we can win elections under the right circumstances, but we no longer have anything remotely close to a long-term winning coalition. He pointed out how the Democratic Party had been losing blue-collar white voters for several election cycles and that Hispanic voters have been turned off by the party's socialism talk in 2020. Still, despite plenty of people screaming from the rafters, the Biden campaign largely ignored the growing problems associated with the rhetoric of the extreme left. In doing so, it let the narrative settle in. Ultimately, the Democratic Party needed to reach out to the median voter who is not a partisan in future elections. He argued, we've seen what happens when we don't listen to voters, when we focus on reinforcing our tent instead of expanding it, and when we move our message outside the mainstream. This is an opportunity for my side to redefine our values for voters who have stopped listening, get this right, and we set ourselves up nicely for the next decade. Get it wrong, and we could be in the wilderness for a long time, Shally said. Well, what you're doing is you're getting back to the issues, and we don't know how you change on the issues. Now, he got it. He understands the identity politics problem. Now, he doesn't call it what it is, though. It's racism.
Mm-hmm.
And the public understands now. More and more people every day look at the identity politics and say, you're being racist. Yeah. In 2024, you're calling the other side racist, yet you're the racist. When you look at the radical transgender movement and the misogyny there, the insanity there, the absolute insanity that you and I have talked about over and over and over again. The reason the Democrats are losing is because on the issues, people look at them and say, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Claire McCaskill called it in that ad way back then, and then she became lately a crazy Democrat.
Yeah.
She became what she said can't win.
Well, how do you, first of all, separate yourself from the radicals who will never change who they are? You can't.
Well, you've got to get members.
They own the party.
Well, you've got to get members of Congress to do it. The equity bill, I think every single Democrat who voted yes for the equity bill, which is, again, men in women's locker rooms. Look, was it SB 1 in New York passed? Now they're getting ready to officially sanction men playing in all women's sports in New York.
Mm-hmm.
So the Democrat voter wants it.
Yep.
It's not just the party. The Democrat voter has become insane on the issues.
There was no outcry. There's no outcry from the rank and file.
No.
This is what they elect. This is who they vote for.
Yep.
So how do you change? There's nothing you can do to change. This is decades, generations of indoctrination that was always going to end up here.
Yeah.
Look, the insanity of them fighting. We talked about the case at the Supreme Court last week. They're fighting for children to be able to mutilate themselves, even though that particular case was about other treatments. It didn't include surgery. They are fighting to include surgery legally.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll fight all the way to the top of the Supreme Court. Now, I don't think the Supreme Court's going to go their way. We'll see what happens. But this is, you and I asked years ago, who's sitting in a strategy room saying this is what we need to do? That we need to go after kids. Who's sitting in the strategy room? We need to fight to keep obscene material in front of the eyes of 5-year-olds. It's perverted. It is absolutely beyond over the top. And are you telling me that's all they're going to do? They're done? No.
Well, let's look. Has the Democratic Party changed at all on spending?
No.
No, not at all. In fact, over the weekend I saw Democrats saying, no, we're not going to go for any of these spending cuts that they want. We need to invest in America.
Yeah, right.
So they haven't changed there. Have they changed on the border?
Nope.
On the federal level, have Democrats changed on the border? Are they fully supporting what Donald Trump wants to do, which is what Kamala Harris said she wanted to do, and they all agreed with her?
Right.
You didn't see massive uprising
No.
when Kamala Harris said, I'm going to build a wall.
I didn't see one protest based on that.
No.
Did you?
Not one.
All right.
So Democrats aren't going to change on that one. On the radical transgender movement, are they going to change on that one? No. Are they going to change Are they going to stop using race baiting? No. So all the major issues where they stand, they don't plan on changing.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got these PAC people saying, you know, what? No, I mean, it's you think about it, because everybody that's talking, that's outraged about the Democratic Party, are the people that have spent tens of millions and even hundreds of millions of dollars with Democrats. And you have to say to them, well, you controlled the money. You didn't see the insanity?
Right.
And all of a sudden now you're going, well, what? You were supporting the insanity.
You will never understand it. You will never see it. Or you just flat out refuse to acknowledge it.
But to me, if you put tens, hundreds of millions of dollars, if you were one of the donors, and that's who these people are. These are all PAC people that are furious at the Democratic Party, yet the message you funded.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you're trying to claim, well, we funded him, and this is wrong. We shouldn't be. But you funded it.
Lindy Lee, you mentioned her a minute ago. She's on the finance committee for the Democratic National Committee.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, and they're. Look, we said, I think you were the first I heard anybody say this. Why is Lindy Lee a Democrat? Why is she supporting the Democrats? Yeah. You know, I mean, that's a lot of money going to waste, quite frankly. It's a lot of money going toward things that you don't believe in, apparently. I mean, because you have to sit down and say, all right, well, we need to, this blah, 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 blah. We need to create an ecosystem and blah, blah. No. Stop. What do you believe? What do you honestly believe? What do you believe on the border? What do you believe on the economy? What do you believe? How should things work? Well, as you mentioned, they're not backing away. No one's coming out saying, oh, yeah, I mean, Kamala tried it. We're going to build a wall. And, no, she wasn't ever going to build a wall. But on the economy, no, we need to do more investment. I mean, spending is the answer. Right after massive inflation. And they haven't learned a thing. They haven't learned a thing.
No.
Their game book has expired.
And I bet you these same PACs will still support them when they don't change on the issues going into the midterm.
Well,
because it's what they believe. They're just angry that they can't get it through.
That's, how do we convince? This is what they're, I think the ultimate question, how do we convince these idiots of our agenda? You can't. You can't for now. Look, back in the day when things were still in the abstract, you could talk about things. I mean, is there anything more abstract than hope and change? Seriously. It's about as ambiguous as it gets.
Well, Obama was out there a couple of days ago. Nobody's paying attention.
Nobody's paying attention. George Clooney isn't answering his calls now. That's how bad it is. I'm probably right about that. But it's, back in 2008, what allows you the luxury of the abstract? Politically. Good times. A strong nation. Fundamentals that don't have you scrambling on every front. American families in 2024. The broken border. Again, has you concerned that for the safety of your family. A rise in violent crime in major metro areas. Has you concerned for your family. Having to choose between paying the light bill or buying back-to-school materials has you concerned about the safety and well-being of your family. These are things that shake you at the core, fundamentally, in the instinct of even if you're not a parent, and just your survival instinct. They have you concerned about your safety and well-being. Can I afford to live? Am I safe in my neighborhood? Am I safe in my state? Are the local leaders going to do anything with illegal criminals coming here that are violent in nature, and we know that they're here, and all of these things change everything. Well, in 2008, not saying it was perfect, but years ago, you could discuss the abstract because things were on, I'll say, more of a solid ground as a nation. The words of Obama that need to be on a statue, if there's going to be a statue of Obama, is right below on the plaque, need to be, never underestimate the ability of Joe Biden to F things up. And by the way, I would not put things on that plaque. I would put everything to mess everything up. Because that's where we are. And there is no room for abstract. You and I are in the same boat, in a pre-show meeting, and you were talking about it, you brought it up, that, look, Kristen Welker interview, great, fine. Now it's the time to do. And, January 20th, that's when you start. So we're just waiting to get it. I've talked to, I don't know how many relatives and friends since, I guess, about Thanksgiving week. Man, wish Inauguration Day would hurry up and get here. I wish they were able to get to work, sooner, basically the idea. And the thing is that, people are waiting. It is that wait and see because, look, we gave you our vote. Now we need you to do something. And that's kind of where the incoming administration is. We'll see where it goes.
It's interesting because, like I said when you were gone the other day, I said, look, there isn't really a reason for him to do this interview. And as Sean Spicer said, why is Trump rewarding, Welker? And I went, well, it's not going to really matter either way. And it ended up not mattering either way because we know why Trump won and what he's going to do. Mm-hmm. And really, when it comes to the mainstream media, I don't think many people really want to see her talking. I know even when I see her, talking to Trump, I see that when he is any point, she just wants to, fade away from it. But people aren't watching. As the deputy, as Rob Flaherty said, nobody's paying attention to the mainstream media anymore.
Right. They don't have that power.
They don't have an effect at all. Man, can you believe you and I are saying this and there's universal agreement? Because really, a year and a half ago, people were still telling us Republicans couldn't win. And we said, yeah, they can. You have to understand the mainstream media is losing. The radical political leftist activists are losing.
Right.
866-98 Red Eye.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Surviving and thriving as an owner-operator has just as much to do with managing costs as it does with generating revenue. Understanding basic principles of operating costs can save you thousands of dollars a year. Costs are not the same each month. If 9,600 miles are driven one month and 10,000 miles the next, two different sets of costs apply for each month. For example, if your tractor payment is $1,850 per month and you drive 9,600 miles in the month, your tractor payment is costing you 19.3 cents per mile. Drive 10,000 miles, though, and that same payment will cost you 18.5 cents per mile. This is one of your major fixed costs while paying off a truck loan. The difference in this example is only a fraction of a cent, which may seem like small change, but it ultimately amounts to $960 more annually on the bottom line. Because though fixed costs do not go down over time, you can reduce your cost per mile with more paid miles. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics. Brought to you by Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. I love this report. House Democrats angry at Biden. Hunter Pardon pushed them over the edge. That pushed you over the edge?
That was the one, huh?
I mean,
had you not been watching? Had you not been paying attention?
Oh, did you see Piers Morgan and Neil deGrasse Tyson going at it over the trans athletes? deGrasse Tyson's like, well, no, because he's trying to use this thing. Boxers, 125. We're going to find out that in the future, it's not going to be the battle of the sexes. It'll be the battle of weight classes.
Yeah, no.
He's just like,
no.
Piers Morgan was like, stop it.
You're making it up.
Just
he's making it up as he's a very smart guy too.
I know.
He's making it up as he goes along on that.
On our website, RedEyeRadioShow.com. Show info with stations, podcasts, and more. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. All right, this is one of my my favorite audio here from the last couple of days.
All right.
Piers Morgan with Neil deGrasse Tyson on the whole radical transgender movement. And this is something that Tyson's been on for a while, which is just ridiculous. You and I think we played an audio, I don't know, maybe 6 months, a year ago, where he said the exact same thing. Well, we need to, maybe it's weight classes that we need to have it in, where people fight by weight classes and not by gender and or sex.
Right.
This is just great because Piers Morgan goes right at him. I'm telling you, it's just, isn't it cringeworthy listening to Tyson?
It really is, because he sounds desperate to try and he's throwing all these weird theories out, and he sounds desperate to try and make it work.
Yeah, here we go.
What I see is sports is on the frontier of how to handle this frontier of people who are trans. It's on the frontier of how to resolve that. And I'm making.
By the way, what the hell does that even mean? It's on the frontier.
What frontier?
Yeah,
what?
I know, but let's continue. I just had to stop it for that one. It's on the frontier. It's on the frontier.
This up now. Imagine the future of sports does not distinguish sex. It distinguishes and sorts people by hormone ratios. I'm making this up, but imagine that if that were the case. That would be interesting. You get a hormone test, you're in this range, and then you compete against other people with the same range of hormones.
That's ridiculous.
That's
Neil, that is ridiculous.
No, it's not. I'll tell you why it's
You're
not
ridiculous. You're going to give every single person in sport a hormone test.
Hold on. I used to wrestle. And wrestling, there are people who weigh, sorry, am I using pounds here, 125 pounds, right on up to 240 pounds. They don't wrestle each other. The entire sport separates people so that the contest is interesting.
Yeah.
And so the people of the same weight wrestle each other, and that is the contest.
But if Floyd Mayweather...
I don't know if that's how it will land.
Hang on, Neil. If Floyd Mayweather fought a woman boxer, a female woman boxer, who was the same weight division, he would annihilate her. That's why we don't let it happen. And in fact, in the Paris Olympics, the winner of one of the women's boxing competitions, one of the females who took her on. But my point is that I just think that, if you don't mind me saying, I say this respectfully because I love you, but it just seems to me like you've dug yourself into a slight hole on this issue, and you're trying to get out of it. Now you're suggesting slightly mad theories, whereas the science to me is obvious. You've already given the best argument I've heard for why we separate the sexes.
Hold on. You misquoted me in this very interview. What I said was the idea of creating categories within a sport, splitting them in the example I gave, which I just made it up, like hormone ratios, is not fundamentally weird compared to dividing wrestlers by weight.
No,
because
it is.
The only reason why you do this is to make an interesting contest.
No, Neil, you're wrong.
And so you said Floyd Mayweather fight. Hold on. Hold on.
You're
you
wrong.
said Floyd Mayweather.
You're not
fighting
allowing for the superior male biology when it comes to lung capacity, stamina, to body mass, to muscle mass, all those things. If you just take one criteria of hormones, you're not allowing all that. I'll give an example. Caitlyn Jenner, who obviously... hang on. I'm going to finish my point. Let me finish my point. Caitlyn Jenner was an Olympic male decathlon gold medal winner. Caitlyn is a big golf fan. And when she started playing golf after she transitioned, she was allowed to play off the women's tees, which are 50 yards further than the men's tees. And she quickly realised that she was still smashing it 300 yards down, and obviously was then beating all the women that she played. So she now plays back off the male tees because her biology is that of a man. And I feel that that was the most honest way to deal with it. I also feel that if you want to have a separate category, have a trans category. Or have trans women compete against men, which is their biology. Isn't that the scientific way to resolve this?
I don't have a solution. What I
then shut up.
Clearly, again, he's desperate. He's throwing all these things around. You know, I mean, it's I don't know. It's insane.
Yeah, I know.
You know, and it's funny because Pierce starts where I started as Tyson was talking. Well, wait a minute. What are you going to test every single athlete on hormones? Hormones, by the way, fluctuate. They fluctuate by activity. They fluctuate by age. They fluctuate with what you eat and everything. So they could fluctuate greatly between the time you book a fight, if you're talking about boxing or whatever, and the time you actually have the fight.
But Piers Morgan falls into the same trap,
Mm-hmm.
calling Caitlyn Jenner a she.
Mm-hmm.
Caitlyn Jenner is a he.
Mm-hmm.
And then admits his biology is male.
Right.
And it's a he.
Yep.
Stop it.
Right.
God. Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
It's just, but I had to play that because you and this isn't the first time Neil deGrasse Tyson hasn't figured out how to sell that because he's been using that one for a while.
He really has. Both times that we played the audio, he just sounds, I think we played the audio last time too. He just sounds really desperate to try and make it work. And then at the end, I don't know. I'm just throwing ideas out there. Right. Well, you know, that's the thing. And then he asks here in that audio, doesn't that sound interesting? What do you mean interesting?
Sounds stupid.
You know, the question is it fair? Is it a match?
Right. No, it's not.
You know, this idea that, well, they have no team to play on. Actually, they do. They can try out for that team, and they make it or not. They can practice that sport if it's a individual sport, and they either make it or they don't. They do have a place. Whatever their biology dictates.
Right. He's a typical liberal, though, where he takes, claims he's a scientist and then just throws all the science out the window.
Right, right. Well, when he says, words like, oh, doesn't that sound interesting? What interesting? Yeah. We're not talking interesting. And then he says weird. That's not as weird as, well, we're not talking weird. And, because when you get into the weight classes, everybody talks about the weight classes. Well, Bruce Lee, at his heaviest, was 145 pounds. And often was about 125, 130. I would advise, back then, if anybody's listening in the past, I would have advised that you're not, no matter how big you are, pick a fight with Bruce Lee. There are things that you're not going to get through the minds of people that, and I don't know, the thing is I don't know where Tyson's going with all this.
I know, there's never a conclusion.
Because he's not, here's the thing, what I suspect and what I hear, the common thread between the lines here is he can't commit. He can't say it. He can't just say it. He's a scientist. but he ignores that entire area of science, which, by the way, is a lot more basic and I think understandable than the science he's involved in.
Oh, no, you're right. Because, talking...
it's look, we all took biology class. Yeah. I still have to ask the question. I thought about this the other day. Are they teaching it? I have these grandkids. I should introduce myself to them and ask them if they're getting, do you take biology? I've got to remember to ask one of my grandkids if they're teaching biology. Number 4 is still in high school, so I'll ask her coming up. I'll see her in a couple of weeks.
Well, that's the thing, though. He deals in, the theory of physics all the time, which is theory.
Yeah.
But when you look at the science of sex, it's absolute. And he's trying to find a way out of that. For what reason?
Where are you going with it, Neil?
Yeah, what's the reason he's
we couldn't figure it out the first time.
Yeah, what's the reason you're ignoring the science?
Right.
What is it?
Right. Yeah.
And he can't answer the question. I mean, where are you going here with it? Why are you so insistent on ignoring the absolute science of biological sex? Yeah. And from somebody who delves into the theory of physics.
Right.
And I know there are certain things that we don't view as theory in physics, but when you look out there and you start talking about black holes and the potential and everything else, and you're getting
Stephen Hawking's black hole theory, which was debated for the longest time, for decades. Right. Those kind of things. But this is biology that we know that the left is trying to rewrite.
And did you notice his manic way of arguing this,
Yeah.
which he doesn't even know? He's completely manic in arguing something that he doesn't know why he's even arguing it.
You know what he sounds like? You know who he sounds like? Mark Cuban.
Yeah, you're right. He does.
Yeah, it's that desperate thing of just trying to throw things out there, because he was excuse making for Kamala, to the nth during the campaign, and was just and again, as a political surrogate, we understand but you're really going to have to get down to the points. I don't think neither of us think that Mark Cuban is stupid either, but man, he made a go at it.
He sounded. He tried his best to sound stupid.
Best to sound stupid.
I'm really going to work at it.
Yeah.
How can I really sound ridiculous?
Right.
Let me. If you don't want to sound ridiculous, don't attempt to justify how Kamala Harris thinks.
Look, she can't explain it.
Right.
Why do you think you can? See, that's what I was saying earlier about the liberal activist media. Some of them were kind of trying to do that, along the way because they didn't have talking points, and really it was more about the Biden administration. That conversation, the White House press corps and everything else. They had to write their own talking points and making excuses. But then you got into the Kamala campaign. Wow, she put the pain in campaign, man. I'm going to tell you, it was really hard to watch sometimes. It was so cringe at times, even if she wasn't a part of the conversation. The excuse making, the talking points that just kind of came out of nowhere, and we were like, wait a minute, she's not saying that. And I don't know, Tyson has that same air about him in these conversations. And again, not the first time he's had this conversation or had a conversation on this topic. It sounds like Mark Cuban trying to defend Kamala Harris. These are very smart people. We just don't know what falls apart during these conversations.
Oh, it's just listening to him, I cringe because I'm like, doesn't he see himself tying himself into dumb rhetorical circle arguments that are going nowhere?
Right.
I mean, they go nowhere. It's like, whenever I see him talk about this, I'm like, what's your point? What's your point? So are you saying they should then fight with certain hormone levels? No.
Right.
Weight classes? No. Well, then what are you saying?
Where are you going with it?
I'm not saying that I've come to any decision on anything.
Yeah,
I'm throwing stuff out, but the stuff you're throwing out is stupid.
It's very clear. They can play any sport on their own biological team. Full stop.
What I hate is somebody who is obviously trying to tell you their opinion and at the end says they don't have an opinion on it.
Yeah.
What the hell are you talking about?
Right. You just
I'm just throwing.
And he was vehemently arguing with Pierce.
Right. These are, I'm just throwing out these ideas that are going nowhere.
Exactly.
That you threw out 6 months ago and you threw out a year ago and they went nowhere.
A segment.
What's your point?
Come on, Neil. Come on. You just wasted that whole segment and you don't know? That's your final answer is, I don't know.
866-90 Red Eye.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome. And good morning. New report, House Democrats angry at Biden for the Hunter pardon that pushed them over the edge. That's the headline. So we'll get to that. Latest on Syria. We talked about it a little bit to start the show off with. Plus the trial going on, the Daniel Penny trial. You saw where that is where that's going right now. Where now it's criminally negligent homicide,
right,
is what they're looking at. From everything that I can see and from the witnesses, this thing would never have been brought in any other court. Ever.
Yeah, right. It's, we'll see where the jury goes, but, dropping that top charge and reducing that, and we'll see where the jury goes with it next. But, yeah, you and I couldn't see that. We'll see what his peers have to say.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you.
Really interesting article in the New York Post from the editorial page, which is headline, Daniel Penny jurors' duty now reject the kangaroo court injustice. What they're saying is that the court's breaking the law. That what they did in this particular case is they didn't sit there and say, okay, here are the charges that you can pick and choose from. Now go deliberate on all the charges.
Right, right.
They basically said, the judge basically said, go in and figure out on the one charge where you stand. Then you can go to the next one after you do the first one.
Right.
So you can't do that under New York law.
Right.
According to the New York Post, they said Judge Wiley handed the prosecution an outrageous gift Friday by granting its request to drop the count of manslaughter in the second degree, on which jurors were deadlocked, and telling the jury to now only consider the lesser charge. It's obscene that Bragg even asked for this favor, since it destroys the last shreds of claim to care about making the justice system more fair. Look, under New York law, DAs must choose the charges before trial. They don't get to change their minds once they learn what the jury will buy. That law was created to avoid compromise verdicts when jurors split the difference so they can finish up and go on with their lives, rather than reaching a true agreement on the facts of the case and how the law applies. Hence, Wiley's initial instructions to the jury: come to a 12-0 consensus on the more serious charge, then consider the lesser one. They didn't get to that agreement, meaning some jurors were adamant. What they're saying is the judge said, here are the jury instructions. Come to a 12-0 consensus on one charge, and then you can consider the next. They never did either way.
Right.
It's a hung jury.
Right.
It's like, it's over.
Right. Mistrial.
They didn't get to their agreement, meaning some jurors were adamant that Penny was guilty of manslaughter, even as others refused to go along. The law clearly indicates that this requires a mistrial, meaning Penny must go free, but the prosecution can try for an all-new trial on the lesser charge.
Right.
But they can't with the same jury who's already deliberated the top call, especially with the instruction from the judge. Instead, Bragg's crew is gaming the system using information gained from deliberations so far to try for a more limited win. That is, they know some jurors will vote for guilty on the lesser charge and hope that the rest will go along now that the greater one is off the table. In other words, a compromise verdict, and the judge granted that do-over, claiming the DA's proposal would eliminate the issue, as he rejected the defense's objection to this blatant miscarriage of justice. It doesn't remotely eliminate the issue because this jury has already been considering the greater charge and can't possibly forget that fact, which inevitably colors its future deliberations. If Bragg wanted a jury to consider only negligent homicide, his duty is to file for a whole new trial with only that charge on the table from the start. Mm-hmm. This is a risk he knowingly took by filing both charges in this trial. It blew up in his face, but he wants to escape the consequences. In other words, Bragg is going for a touchdown with the greater charge, hoping he'd at least get a field goal with the lesser one. Then he fell short on fourth down, but the judge gave him another down in the same field position, and not by calling any penalty on the defense.
Yeah.
This gift to the prosecution is a huge violation of the defendant's rights to a fair trial. If it leads to a guilty verdict, it should be tossed on appeal.
Yeah, it could end up as a gift to the defense here if they do take this to appeal based on the fact that it should have been a mistrial. This is Alvin Bragg, though.
So then again, the appellate courts could be as biased as the trial one.
Yeah.
Jurors' duty isn't to comply with this outrageous pressure on the assumption everything comes out okay in the end, but to rapidly announce they won't convict on the negligent homicide either. The judge should have sent them home permanently on Friday. They should waste no time Monday in telling him this stunt won't fly, because they will look over that on today. They have not even looked at that, which is ridiculous. They should have been, it should have been, okay, if the instructions were, come with the verdict at the first one, then consider the second one, but they never came to a verdict either way.
Right. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is.
That hasn't been talked about enough.
No, great job here. This editorial at the New York Post.
Yeah, I don't.
Board.
Again, I wasn't sitting in there, but I read enough on it, especially with the witnesses. As I said, the only charge you could imagine if you didn't know anything about the case, if you just knew that it would be a criminally negligent homicide from the very beginning, that should have been, if there was a top charge, that should have been it. I don't see how they get there, though. I couldn't get there as a juror. From what I've seen, I couldn't get there. Right. When you see the witnesses, if you saw any of the witnesses and heard their testimony, I mean, they were frightened. They thought they were going to be killed. They thought they were going to be harmed or killed. Yeah. They were scared to death. Yeah. They look at Daniel Penny as somebody who's a hero.
Yeah.
You came in and you did what you had to do to stop this, to stop this situation. And so, again, understand, you and I have talked about this. One of the worries we've always had with lawfare is if they go after somebody like Trump, then they'll come after somebody like you if it fits their political agenda, and they'll try to put you in jail for doing something, for being a hero and defending other people. They'll put you in jail.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Look, it's all about agenda. We know this about Alvin Bragg. And it will be interesting to see what happens later today in this case. But if here's the difference, or here's the long-term concern, I guess, is that it's not exclusive to Alvin Bragg. This kind of behavior can happen, and it's not exclusive to New York. Now, you do have areas where trials are going to go a certain way, and in that area versus moving your trial, and that's why they look to move trials. But what we have seen is this culture that is deeply embedded inside the Department of Justice. It's deeply embedded in the justice system to begin with. And I don't put it, when we talked about the civil case with Letitia James, all these cases against Trump. Look, this is about a rotten system, the rot within the system. And it's not exclusive to these individuals that are in charge of the Trump cases.
No.
And that's what has to stop. That's what must stop. I'm anxious to see what will happen here in this case in New York. I don't know where it goes because they make the point here, the editorial board at the New York Post. All right, well, it goes through and then he moves on to appeal, which he should win.
Well,
but
I will tell you,
may not get the jury, the proper jury there.
I don't know what the vote count was, but to get jurors, I don't know how you could get any juror to say that what happened in that case. What is that piece of evidence that led you to say guilty on second-degree manslaughter? There's no way you can get there unless you're just a partisan.
Right. Yeah, that's a great question.
Buying a race argument. Perry's white.
Right. Right.
And the man who was killed was not.
Right.
Other than that, how do you get to that? How do you get to second-degree manslaughter? And I don't know, it might have only been one person or two people. But when you reading the transcripts and the description from the reporters of those people that were on that subway scared to death.
Yeah.
That you look at it and you go, okay, there's just no way.
Right.
But you got to understand the rot. The rot is now in district attorneys, it's in judges, and it's in juries.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
And that's
absolutely.
That's a problem.
Well, I mean,
look, how did they ever?
We saw it.
Trump, 34 felonies. You can't get there. It's impossible. Yet they got there.
The case with the one Clinton lawyer, and then the one juror said, lying to the FBI.
Oh yeah,
that's not a big deal.
Not a big deal. Yeah,
there are other crimes that we should be worried about.
Right. Didn't say it wasn't a crime. Just said it's no big deal.
No big deal.
And that's the problem that we have now in our system of justice.
Right.
Is what you're seeing from Bragg right now, and two judges going along with stuff that just should never happen, ever.
Yeah. Yep.
But you've got rot in the judges. You've got rot in the lawyers. You've now got rot in the juries.
Yep.
And that's a huge problem.
Yep.
Because you look at that case. You look at the Daniel Penny case. You're just like, where? How in the hell do you ever get to second-degree manslaughter? It's impossible. He was defending people.
Right.
He did not initiate it at all.
Right.
There's no evidence he initiated anything.
Yeah,
and you can't find the evidence that he was trying to kill him either. That's the point.
Right. Exactly.
You can't.
That there was intent.
You can't get to that intent.
No.
You just can't.
No, you can't.
But the strength of the witnesses is where I really went, wow. Bragg believes that he can get people that will, no matter what, will buy into whatever he says because we're in New York City.
Yep.
And so we will punish the people that attempt to stop the crime that's happening on the streets. Any polls done on this in New York?
Oh, I wonder. I don't know. I haven't seen any.
Neither have I. I'd like to see a poll on this.
Yeah.
866-98-RED-I.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
Red Eye Radio, he's Eric Harley and I'm Gary McNamara. Associated Press reporting that Israel's foreign minister says it struck suspected chemical weapons sites and long-range rockets in Syria in order to prevent them from falling into the hands of hostile actors. Also, the United States hitting a ton of sites, too.
Yeah. It's what has to happen after the fall of Assad. Assad now in Moscow. It's, I guess if you ask me about this, civil war in Syria, going back to 2011, I wouldn't have had any predictions. I didn't think that Assad was close to losing power, but you never do until it happens. The question is, what now with Syria? It certainly leaves a void. I think Israel and the U.S. are right to go after some key targets here to make sure that they don't fall into the hands of Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, any bad actors. And there's a ton of those, not just the chemical weapons, but other weapons that you have to be greatly concerned about. This is kind of what happened after the fall of Gaddafi.
Well, when you look at it, for example, when it comes to Ukraine, people say, what's the similarity? Well, Russia was backing, as we know, Assad in Syria and couldn't hold it for him.
Right.
Don't think that Donald Trump doesn't notice that when it comes to Ukraine and the United States right now. If Trump, remember, Trump's talking about peace through strength, not peace through capitulation.
Right.
And there's a difference. That's what the Obama administration was doing. Well, they were actually doing, they were trying to do peace by funding the enemy.
Right.
As we all know. It's funny that you can say that. Nobody ever debates it anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Democrats even know it's because that's what he did.
Right.
By lifting the sanctions on oil. He funded our enemies. And you can say that. You think Democrats would be upset. They're like, nah, you're right, he did. And I don't know whether you agree with it or not, but they're okay with it.
Right.
There was never anybody upset. Did you ever hear one Democrat upset about that?
Nope.
Never. Not one.
No outrage whatsoever from the left.
But it shows that whether you're Iran or whether you're Russia, it doesn't mean that, especially when you look at Russia, that their resources haven't been spread awfully thin right now, which is an advantage to the United States. And you and I said this. We have to challenge Russia at every point that we can.
Right.
Russia is an enemy of the United States.
Yep.
The problem with Ukraine is you've got an administration that went in and for the longest time didn't want to win. As soon as Trump won, all of a sudden, okay, here's some long-range missiles to shoot into Russia. And then it was like, what the hell are you trying to do now? Cause, World War III? What is your plan here?
Right.
What are you doing? How come you changed this up? Because we know that's what the plan was. The plan was, well, we don't want you to be too strong. We just want to give you enough weapons to keep this thing going even. Reminded me of that old Star Trek.
Yeah, right.
The old Star Trek. Remember where the overlords were, the people, they were basically sending people to fight. You'd kill 500 on one side. They'd kill, but they were just executing people.
Right.
One side
equity in war.
Yeah, one side would execute their people, so you'd execute yours.
Right.
And this was the insanity of what you got to in that one particular Star Trek episode. So the thing is, you need to be able to challenge who your enemies are without getting into a war that never ends.
Right.
That's the challenge that Trump has right now, but he's made it clear it's peace through strength.
Right.
Again, not peace through surrender.
Right. Yeah. It again will be interesting to see what happens with Syria going forward and how that all works out. But the greatest concern, and clearly Israel and the U.S. know it, is that all of those weapons, and whether chemical weapons or missiles, have to be secured or destroyed to make sure they don't fall into the wrong hands. We'll see where it goes from here too. I'm very curious about what Trump does with Iran day one. I would like to see those sanctions back in place. But what are the conversations that are going on right now? And that's what has to be. My gosh, John Ratcliffe, National Security Advisor. He's got experience. He was acting director of national intelligence. He certainly is familiar with every geopolitical situation and is up to date. There's no doubt. But something is going to happen. You have to set the tone with Iran coming in. And Iran expects that. I think also Putin in Russia expects that. Hopefully China knows what to do, but that's going to be more of a move on trade. And we'll see where it goes. But, one thing about Russia is that, they're a lot of their world trade partners, Putin is being choked out slowly because of what's going on right now with Ukraine. And so he's taken up greater trade relations with China. Well, you can sustain that only so long. So we'll see where it goes and what how President Trump, when he becomes president, handles Iran, and then there's North Korea and every other enemy on the planet.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you for being here. Reading this here from Breitbart, looking at a story from Axios. The relationship between President Biden and House Democrats appears to have grown strained after the president backtracked on his previous refusal to pardon his son. Multiple House members told Axios this week the tensions were already brewing between the commander-in-chief and Democrat lawmakers, but the pardon sent many over the edge. One senior House Democrat told Axios, "People are really angry." The representative who spoke under the condition of anonymity said they estimated that more than 50% of their fellow House Democrats are frustrated about Biden's sweeping December 1 pardon for Hunter, a move he repeatedly claimed he would not make. Representative Greg Landsman of Ohio chose to speak on the record, saying the Biden House Democrats' relationship isn't as great as it used to be. It is not great, he said. Another source of the tension seems to be, I like this here. Another source of the tension seems to be the perception that Biden cost the Democrats a presidential election after staying in the race until July. Well, you could have had a primary.
Right.
Your party stopped the primary.
Right.
You could have had a primary.
Right.
I think there's widespread sense that he took too long to get out. Excuse me, you defended him staying in.
There was nobody on the left calling for him.
No one.
To step down at all.
No one.
In fact, the only thing we heard was in September of 23, we played the audio, Anderson Cooper in an interview, I forgot who he was talking to, making the point, come on, Is Kamala really the one should she really stay on the ticket? And that was, again, in September of 23. They were talking about Kamala not being on the ticket. No one on the left was having a discussion about Joe Biden stepping down.
Well, the whole thing in last November, a year ago November, the debate between Newsom. Why the hell do people think the debate between Newsom and DeSantis took place?
Right. That was the would-be, right?
That was the guy. I mean, that was the guy who was going to replace Biden when he could no longer run. That's when there was still talk of having some type of primary, because that was decided, September of 23, maybe?
When they booked that debate?
When they booked that debate.
Yeah.
There had plenty of time to have it. Democrats didn't want any challenger to Biden. And now, because they always play the victim-oppressor narrative, now they're viewing themselves as the victim of the oppressor Biden, when they were the one that any time a Republican spoke up and said, this guy is incapable of running, Democrats said, you people are out of line.
Yeah.
They used every excuse in the book.
Right.
Just ridiculous.
Well, I mean, Morning Joe. F you if you can't handle the truth.
Right. This is, this is the best version of Biden that you're going to get.
Yeah, better than any Republicans, and I know the Republican lawmakers on Capitol Hill, and blah, 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 and went on this big rant. Next thing you know, he was sitting in Trump's lap at Mar-a-Lago.
Another senior House Democrat pointed out that some of the frustration about Harris's loss had to do with Biden. Geez, he stuck around longer than he probably should have. Since we don't live in the bubble of today, we remember the narrative when Biden appointed her as good. Because the whole point was, remember, she wasn't going to talk to anybody and didn't need to talk. Remember the excuses from the Democrats. She doesn't need to talk to anybody.
No.
People know that, she's going to talk in her own way. Mm-hmm. They defended her. So they go on record and defend Biden and defend Harris. And then after it's all over and they lose, they're like, well, why did those people do it? Well, you supported them.
Right. There was no outrage at all.
No.
None. You're seeing it now. If you call this outrage. I don't know that this rises to outrage, but now they're, we should have had a primary. You could have.
And I think the call, because you've seen the call over the weekend, too, and Clyburn talking about it again, and other Democrats, he should pardon Trump. The reason they're talking about that, and we said this as soon as they said that a couple of weeks ago, we said, well, the reason they're doing that is because then that justifies any other pardon that they want to give.
That's what I said to you off the air in one of our pre-show meetings last week or week before. I said, this is the ridiculous minds of the left, certainly of Joe Biden. You have this long list, because when the story came out at Politico last week that they had a long list of pardons considering, they were talking about it, a long list of preemptive pardons that they were talking about at the White House. I said, put everybody in there, including at the very end Joe Biden. But why not throw Donald Trump in just to show we're going to stop? We're going to be the ones, Joe will say, he's the hero. He's going to stop the political back and forth and the political targeting and blah, 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 and it won't be worth it, and they can't pursue it, and blah, 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 and we'll end it right here, right now. Well, except for with Trump, these cases were based on nothing except for political hatred. And with Joe Biden, we haven't even opened that suitcase yet. That laptop in that repair store hasn't been found yet. We're still going through Hunter's case. But with Hunter's pardon, why wouldn't he pardon everybody else?
Yeah. And so the possibility of Trump pardon is just to give him an excuse that he can pardon everybody else that he wishes to pardon.
Right.
He says, well, see, I'm being fair. I'm pardoning people on both on both sides.
Yeah.
Number one, as we talked about, the Trump convictions are going away on the
Right,
federal
right.
level.
Yeah.
He doesn't need what Biden's going to offer.
Exactly.
They're doing it just to justify the corruption, the influence peddling in the Biden administration,
Right.
which we've always said looks terrible. But understand this. It's very important to understand Democrats don't care if their politicians make money through public service.
No.
They don't care.
They don't.
They do not care if their politicians are involved in influence peddling. How do we know? Because they've never said anything.
Right. Yep.
They've never said. They've been absolutely quiet.
There hasn't been anything, no talk about this. No talk about this whatsoever. You didn't see this. We said all along, Hunter Biden is a liability on Joe Biden. But the bigger liability on Joe Biden is Joe Biden. The whole Hunter thing wasn't about Hunter. It was about Joe. And
influence peddling.
And influence peddling and how his family benefited to the tune of millions and millions of dollars. And that's what you have, plain and simple. And the Trump cases, they'll go away. I mean, we'll see where it goes, from here. But, I mean, eventually they're going to go away one way or the other. I mean, I can't see an appeals court upholding any of that stuff. I mean, the Jack Smith thing's gone.
Mm-hmm.
But if Bragg wanted to keep that in play for whatever sentencing date for 2029 or something stupid, well, okay, great. In the appeals, they're going to win that all day long.
Well, in the Bragg case, in the state case, that's going to fall apart.
Yeah.
And the
Letitia James case. Yeah.
But those are all
state cases.
Those are all state cases.
Mm-hmm.
But the federal cases, as we know, are done.
Yeah.
And so to do a pardon would be dumb because Trump doesn't want a pardon.
Right.
On it, he wants it to go through. He wants to go through the courts where it's wiped off completely.
Oh yeah, that's by the way, that's the other thing. Is by doing this, does Biden think, I won't give him a chance to go through the appeals. He'll never have the chance to prove himself innocent.
Well, sure, he just says, I reject the pardon.
I reject the pardon?
Yeah. And we asked the question, how many Democrats might reject the pardon?
Right.
Let me rephrase that. Would any Democrat reject the pardon?
Yeah.
But then again, how do you reject a pardon on a charge
that hasn't
or a
happened.
conviction that isn't there?
We need Tom Cruise and the precogs.
Right. There is no. You don't have to do either.
No,
because
you don't.
you haven't been charged or convicted on anything.
Right.
So if a governor came out and said, well, you're pardoned, Eric, for all your state violations, you're like, what state violations?
Right.
How do you accept a pardon on something that you haven't done?
Right.
I just wonder whether he's still going to continue, whether he's still going to go and do it, because this has not ended. You saw the media on Friday; they were going crazy. They haven't stopped. The Democrats may have buried their head, but the media is still ticked off. I'm not really sure why they're ticked off as much as they are. I mean, they've been lied to this entire time, unless they have figured. Unless they feel guilty as political activists because what they did in covering this administration helped them to lose.
I think there's a lot of that. I can't quantify it, but I think there's a lot of that. This is he just loves his son, and love is love. We went through that. Remember how long we went? Oh, this is and they're still doing it, by the way, a few of them. Mm-hmm. Well, it's just out of the love for his son. He said it. Nobody is above the law. And Apparently they are.
Well, it seems like the media knows all the conservative talking points very well.
Yeah.
Don't they?
Right. They really do.
They've asked all the questions on Friday over and over and over and over again, where she kept saying, "Well, answer the question." No, you didn't.
No, you didn't. You didn't answer the question.
And the reporters actually called her on that. The Associated Press reporter called her on it. You really haven't answered. And so did the other reporter. I forgot where she was from. She did the same thing. Well, you didn't answer the question. Yes, I did answer the question. No, you didn't.
No,
Here's my question again. And so she was getting flustered. And then where did I see that? Somebody wrote, "How dare Joe Biden throw Karine Jean-Pierre under the bus?" Like, oh my God.
Well, they do kind of have a point because of all the buses. I mean, think about this. This is a big one.
Yeah,
this didn't happen on. It had to happen. They say it had to happen. before the sentencing thing, and that was coming up for the Hunter pardon. But typically these happen. On their way out the door.
Mm-hmm.
Closer, sometime in January. When Karine Jean-Pierre's already rented a U-Haul, and now she's got to deal with this for still well over a month. Oof. Call a lid.
What does she have on her resume? Best damn liar. No, she has the quote. Karine Jean-Pierre.
Yeah.
It's not a lie if you believe it.
There you go.
Hire the best PR person ever to come about.
Comes complete with her own book. Book of answers. Yeah. She reads answers like nobody's business.
And after everything going on, health insurance industry, I can get you through anything.
Exactly.
I can lie you through anything.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I had a buddy of mine last night. When I woke up, they're already going with the text thing. And he went crazy, on the health insurance companies, basically justifying the murder.
Oh, my gosh.
And throughout, United Health.
We saw that right away.
Yeah, United Health made $420 billion.
Yeah, I don't
And I tell them, nope. They made $22 billion on $371 billion in sale. That's 5.9% profit margin. The average top 500 corporation in the United States, it's 11.5%.
Yeah.
So, and then I said, what is your profit margin that justifies murder?
Right, exactly.
Oh, he went nuts.
That's insane.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Yeah, so we actually got into that little bit of a debate. He goes, well, they're greedy. I said, oh, so now you've gone to the generic greedy.
Right.
So what level of greedy is the profit margin that justifies murder?
Right.
He got all flustered.
Yeah, I bet.
Got all flustered with me. Like,
wow.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
all across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara.
Hey, how's it going?
And good morning. This is one of my favorite stories.
All right, what do you got?
And it's just because it's about Obama.
Okay.
And sorry, I always look back at history, and I mean, we remember the worshiping of Obama, the absolute worshiping, and we said, based on what?
Based on what?
And it was never based on anything. And remember, he was the smartest person, finally we have this incredibly smart person, and you and I always remember, you didn't build that, the government. If the government wasn't there, whoa, showed you how clueless he was and is on economics, completely and totally clueless. We used to get pounded on by Democrats for saying, you people, they're pulling the wool over your eyes. This guy is not that smart.
Right.
And when he said that, that was a great example. You didn't build that. The government, the government doesn't build a damn thing. Everything comes. Hey, guess what, folks? Every Democrat out there, guess what? Everything is built on profits.
Without the profit, there's no revenue to the government to build the bridges and roads that he said had to come first. Nope. The bridges, the roads, and everything else that the government does are funded by the profits.
And so I love, in former President Obama's first speech since the presidential election last month, he took the opportunity to criticize the current state of polarization in politics.
Okay.
Oh, my God.
Here we go.
He's the one. By the way, the whole radical transgender movement was started by Obama.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It was all started. The whole thing started during his second term.
Yep.
Everything. The misogyny that exists in the Democratic Party right now came directly from Obama.
Mm-hmm.
The hate cops and defund the police.
Yep.
Because police departments are systemically racist. That big lie all started with Obama. Remember the beer summit, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. The police acted stupidly. That was the Professor Gates incident. Professor Gates going into his home through a window. He'd lost his key or something, and then the police showed up and wanted ID.
Right.
To make sure that he was the resident of the home, that he lived there.
To protect his property.
Right. They were there to actually do him a favor to make sure.
So Obama criticizing the current state of polarization in politics. Oh, my God. He was speaking at the Obama Foundation's Democracy Forum on Thursday. Interesting. Very quickly. Can I just flash to something else very quick? Because it said the Obama Foundation. Did you hear the donors are so upset about Biden and Harris and everything else? They're like, Biden's presidential library is going to be a hut. I actually saw that the other day, that no donors are going to want to give to him.
Not going to want to give.
Because they believe he is responsible for destroying the Democratic Party the way that it is right now. And I actually read that line over the weekend.
That's funny.
His presidential library may just be a hut.
Right.
It's like,
exactly.
And I forgot about that. I'm like, that's right. That all comes from donors. It's
that
all
has
private.
to happen through donors, yeah.
But Obama was speaking at the Obama Foundation Democracy Forum on Thursday and he made the argument that if one side attempts to secure a permanent grip on power through suppressing votes, politicalization, politicizing the military, or weaponizing judiciary and the criminal justice system to target opponents, a line has been crossed. He's just saying what the Democratic Party was and what he began. Remember the meeting that Obama and Biden held with James Comey.
Yeah.
They knew.
They knew.
He knew early on
Yep.
the dossier was bogus.
Yep.
He kept it going on. Why? Because he was attempting to politicize and weaponize the executive branch.
Right.
That's why. But pluralism is people coming together. Pluralism is not about holding hands and singing Kumbaya, Obama said. It's not about abandoning your convictions and folding when things get tough. It's blah, 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 yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw words at you and not make any sense because you bought it once, you bunch of suckers, and you treated me like a damn deity, and you were a bunch of freaking fools for electing me president of the United States. There you go.
You fixed it.
Did I get that accurately?
I think you fixed it. Yes.
The speech drew sharp criticism from some conservatives. It's over for Obama, Miranda Devine posted on X. The spell is broken. Donald Trump has vanquished him. Biden, Harris, the Bushes, the Cheneys, all of them with the spring in his step.
I love it.
Ever since his last-minute desperate smear of Trump with the very fine people on both sides lie, Obama has been slow in realizing his status as false prophet of the Democratic Party is no more. Obama is the one who turned our politics into, if you disagree with me, you're a bad person, said Matt Whitlock on X. Few people did more to pave the way for Trump so he can take a seat. By voting in a Democratic election, millions of people proved they hate democracy. John Gabriel posted on X, yes, this Obama fellow is quite the intellect.
Yeah.
That's what we said. We said it from the day one. We said, you people are suckers. You think this guy is smart. He's not.
Well, again, creating the rock star. They did that with Bill Clinton. Then they get burned. They don't learn a lesson. Then they come back in 2008. They build the new rock star. Joe Biden was never a rock star. Kamala Harris was the opposite of rock star. Because we're in an age where I think even those that have voted blue look at it and go, yeah, we don't need a rock star. We still had tens of millions of voters vote for her.
Oh, yeah?
I can't tell you why,
Yeah. Yep.
but she's not a rock star. And treating her like a deity. Sorry. But they did. They treated him like one. Remember, the late night comedians wouldn't even do jokes.
Yeah.
But there's nothing funny about him. You're a comedian. Your job is to find the funny.
Well, what's his name? Was it from NBC? Remember that on D-Day? Can't think of his name. Remember he hovers like a god?
Oh, Evan Thomas.
Evan Thomas, yes.
Yeah.
He hovers like a god.
Yeah. I mean, seriously.
And Obama, when it comes
That's so cringe.
Obama, when it comes to understanding anything, sorry, he's an idiot.
Yeah.
Remember,
Right.
he is the one that got started the defunding the police.
Mm-hmm.
He is the one that got started the radical transgender movement in this country. He really pushed it forward with his Justice and Education Department.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, this is one thing people don't remember. Obama was the one, when asked specifically, why do you call yourself black when you're mixed? He said, because I've come to realize that race is a social construct.
Yeah.
That race is whatever you wish to believe
Mm-hmm.
you are. That's the mind of an idiot. Sorry. We got to call it the way it is.
Yeah.
It's not, well, these people are just mistaken in understanding that they forgot to add a decimal point to understand what. No, these people are idiots. The concepts and things that they believe are moronic. They're not true.
Nope.
And they're trying to sell you something. But the biggest thing, the biggest lie that Obama attempted to sell was that he was intelligent.
Mm-hmm. Always the smartest man in the room.
Yeah. And he wasn't. Not even close to being the smartest man in any room that he was ever in, unless he was alone with Joe Biden.
And then definitely the smartest man in the room.
Definitely the smartest man in the room, without question. So I just, God.
Yeah.
But that Obama speaking, he really thinks he has impact. And the thing is, well, really, we're in a lull right now because I talked about even Trump on his surrogates were pumping him up, of course, but really there's no buzz about Trump talking to her on NBC.
No,
everybody's just waiting to see what he's going to do.
Right.
They see Homan out there. They're probably the biggest impact during this transition period has not been, for example, on Hegseth.
Right.
You know, that may be the surrogates talking about it,
yeah.
and the insiders talking about, well, if you don't support him, well, we're going to primary you, and Joni Ernst, we're coming. But the public isn't paying attention to that.
Right.
The public really does. The public, probably most of the public, does not even know who Peter Hegseth is.
No, you're right.
You have to
You're right.
understand, people don't know. If you look, you ask people many times, who Secretary of State is, they have no idea.
Right.
No idea who these people are. If you ask them to identify the cabinet, at times you only have half the people know who the vice president is, for God's sakes.
Mm-hmm.
That's happened before. So, but it's, what are people paying attention to? People are paying attention to Holman out there saying, here's what I'm going to do about illegal immigration. He's the one that's really getting the most publicity out there. I see him more than anyone, and I see him even going into enemy territory. And when he talks about, look, people are getting killed, these children, he's got the greatest message in the world. There are 300,000 children that are still missing. We're trying to save these children.
And you can hear the passion in his voice.
Yeah, you can.
He's straight to the point, and he's one of those individuals that is always, because this is his crusade, and it is a worthy crusade that everybody identifies with. It's a very simple equation, and it's a very urgent situation. And there's really no way to debate him. And he's been so solid and so consistent in getting out there and getting the word out there, and as to why we need to secure the border and why these children need to be found.
Yeah. And I think there's people looking for. I mean, like I said, the surrogates were paying attention to Trump and Welker, but nobody cares about Welker, what she has to say anymore.
Right.
They just don't care about the mainstream media.
Right.
And like I said, and it really came to be what I thought it would be. It didn't do him any harm. Probably didn't do him a lot of good, because nothing matters. It's not the election. This isn't the election's over. People are looking forward to, okay, who are the power brokers going to be, and what are they promoting? And the one you see out there all the time is Holman. He's really the only one you see out there consistently, and Ramaswamy and Elon Musk. But even with Ramaswamy and Elon Musk, everything, and you and I said, look, everything is delayed. They're going to be putting out lists and everything else, and people will be aware of it. But the person who's going to be making moves on day one is Tom Holman.
Yep.
That's where you're going to see the impact, and that's where the media is going to go crazy. You release your paper and your suggestions of what to do on the budget by July 4th of 2026, right?
Yeah.
So you're coming up, what are you, 4 months from a midterm election? You think there's going to be major cutting at that time?
No.
And so
only those that are in safe districts are going to be able to campaign on making cuts, but it's not going to be loud. It won't, and that's only going to be in the House. You're not going to. It's not going to be. Look, if it's a great awareness campaign, that's one thing, but it's not going to be this massive impact. If they prove us wrong, I'll be the first to say I was wrong, and I'd be happy to be wrong.
So that's the good thing, because that's the push has to be on illegal immigration.
Yeah.
The first push has to be on that, because even anything to do with the budget or inflation, you don't have the votes.
Right. No, you don't.
The House is a huge problem.
No, you don't.
You don't have the votes. That's why we said nobody should treat, ever, Matt Gaetz as any type of hero, and I'm glad he disappeared, because he ran for election.
Yep.
He could have stayed. He didn't.
Every seat is critical.
He said he's innocent. I'm taking him at his word.
Right.
Until the evidence proves he's not. He should have stayed and served. That's what he promised the people of Florida. He quit.
Yep.
He is no loyalist towards the Trump movement at all.
Yeah.
And I hope that Trump just forgets about him. He seems to have, because Gaetz has disappeared. I mean, 24 hours after he was gone, you haven't heard anything about Matt Gaetz.
No.
Nothing.
No.
And it's a way that should be. And nobody should view him as any type of hero or any type of anything. He betrayed the Republican Party. He walked on them.
Yep. And again, this is the second time, by the way, he's done that in terms of damaging the numbers in the House. You think of the thing with Kevin McCarthy
that Trump didn't want,
and on that day that it fell down, Gates was asked by a reporter, "Have you spoken to the former president?" "Yeah, I spoke to him just the other day." "Are you aware that an hour ago he posted on his social media, Truth Social, that he disagrees with this?" Trump didn't want him to do that.
So it's like, so Holman's really the guy because that's the one.
Yeah.
There's the budget, there's the spending, there's inflation.
Yep.
But that's going to take Congress. Holman can do a ton of stuff, so the focus is actually where it should be right now. 866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on roadside inspections. Drivers must always be prepared for a roadside inspection. This means drivers should always have their personal, vehicle, and company credentials organized and ready, and having any shipment paperwork such as bills of lading or hazardous material shipment emergency response information organized and ready for the inspection official. Just an FYI, the top 2 violations written against drivers every year, as well as during Operation Road Check, are log general form and manner and log not current. Both are completely avoidable if the driver keeps the log accurate, compliant, and current at all times. Having the vehicle ready for inspection involves the driver conducting daily inspections and making sure any problems that are discovered are immediately corrected. Vehicle readiness also requires the company to make sure that the vehicle is current on all scheduled maintenance and that the maintenance schedule is adequate. This will make sure the driver is being given a sound vehicle to start with. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller & Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So not only did Obama out there, I've got to give a speech so people listen to blah, 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 nobody cares. Then Tim Walz, you see that?
Yeah.
Good God. Oh, my God. Oh, jeez.
What's he endorsing? New camouflage apparel?
I don't know. It's like, they don't get it. They will never get it. They live in the bubble of the state or their little surrounding, their little liberal bubble that they live in.
Yeah, they do.
Anna Kasparian from the Young Turks, who is still a liberal but completely rejects where the Democratic Party has gone, who plays some of her, saying the same thing. It's like they don't learn anything.
Right.
They don't want to learn anything. They just believe they're right no matter what. If you throw facts in their face, they don't care. It doesn't matter.
Observing and analyzing the insanity. Eric Harley and Gary McNamara. Nightly on Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I told you I woke up to a group text.
You did. Right.
With a couple of buddies of mine who are already arguing. Well, they just started in the discussion about, the United Healthcare CEO.
Yeah.
And one friend of mine, and again, partly a lot of sarcasm is in there, but you could tell he's actually, trying to make the same point that health insurance companies are ripping you off to the point of that an assassination is almost expected.
Right.
That there's
what did they think was going to happen?
Right,
exactly.
Is justification.
Which is insane.
And it's insane because first off, he went and said they made $420 billion in profits last year. Now, I knew that was ridiculous, so I had to correct him. I looked it up, only took a couple seconds. Made $22 billion on $371 billion in sales, which is 5.9%. They've been down. That's down from last year. And the last quarter, they're at 3.63%. And as we know in health insurance companies, it goes up and down, the profit margin that they make. And I advise them that the average of from FactSets, which looks at corporate profits, the average top 500 companies in the United States average 11.5. So my question to him was, since it's half of what the average top 500 company makes, what in your mind is a profit margin that justifies murder?
Right.
And of course, he didn't take to that too well, but and I said, you set the premise.
Right.
I'm simply asking you the question of what justifies it in your mind.
You're equating profits with a guy who was the CEO of a company that has been murdered. So where is that line, and how does that even come into the equation?
So, you know what he ended with? Because I said, what's this? Because you basically you started with the premise of generic greed. So I broke down the generic greed into profit margins and compared it to other companies. And I'm trying to get you, and he wouldn't do it. His final response, yeah, but Juan Soto, look at that. There's so much for capitalism, $700 million for a baseball player.
Wow.
It's like, wow, just jump.
Yeah.
And this is somebody who believes he's a conservative. And I'm like, and my point has always been, because I've got, number one, when it comes to the NFL, all right, because I see it every single week. It's rigged, it's rigged, it's rigged. Well, then stop watching the damn sport if it's rigged.
Right.
If you truly believe it's rigged, why the hell are you watching it?
Right.
And if they're all so greedy and you hate them, stop watching it. It's like it's almost like the Democrats. It's Biden's fault. No, it's your fault. You voted for him. You kept him propped up. You bought all his excuses. You promoted his lies. And it's his fault? It's your fault.
Right. Yeah.
But the rigging always gets to me because I got buddies. It's got to be rigged. How do you know? Well, I watched the entire thing. I've been watching all year. Well, then stop watching. Why are you watching? Why are you enthralled with something that's rigged? Why are you enthralled with something that you complain that they're all greedy? Why are you watching? You're part of the problem.
And then
I'm not. I just. And I'm like, okay, I win. I'm upset.
Inevitably, when the ref gets a call wrong, it's blatantly wrong. They all go, aha! See?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah. Now, on the Juan Soto thing, what's ironic about the whole thing, $765 million for 15 years. Ironically, the Mets, in order to afford it, had to sell 51% of their team to the Yankees. But they got it done. It's massive, $765 million. But you know what? I don't look at that and go, look, number one, I'm not a Mets fan. Number two, I don't care. I don't care how much Juan Soto makes. The one thing that stood out to me, 15 years. He's a young guy, but 15 years.
50 million a year, yeah.
Yeah, no, but
right,
I mean,
you mean the length?
Yeah, dude, is he going to be playing ball in 15 years? I mean, I know you can in baseball, but I mean, that's a long commitment for a team. Yeah, so, but, I don't sit there and go, oh, that's a problem. Look, if professional sports charges too much to get in, I don't go. If there are fans out there who insist on it, that no, it's still worth it, all right, they can spend their money on that. They can do that. I don't spend my money on it. I don't look at somebody at a that stars in a movie. Oh, you got $100 million to star in this movie or whatever it is. All right, and then it tanks. Say they're paying him too much. Well, that will actually hurt his career or her career if the movie tanks. But I don't care. Is it a good movie? Is it of interest to me? There are very few of them today, so I can say probably not with good certainty, not even knowing the movie. But the thing is that people get on this bandwagon of, oh, see, this is the problem. The problem is blah, 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 blah. Look, when it affects me, we get back to the discussion, on healthcare. We have a great healthcare industry system in America. We do. It's not cheap. You and I have talked about ideas to streamline it and transparency, in fact, transparency in pricing. We talked about for years. But this whole discussion is morbid as it surrounds the murder of Brian Thompson. It's just morbid. And I don't get it. Thankfully, most discussions are not about that. But the fact that it even exists, that mentality is out there.
It was all over the place.
Yeah.
People were blunt about it. And I'm just like, wow.
Well, you saw the story that, other healthcare companies are, rethinking their security. By the way, there was some comment about Brian Thompson's security on that morning. We don't know the details yet, but quite often CEOs of companies have security. They are, even if they're not a household name CEO. You said you saw a picture of, who was it, Bill Gates? And it was like, where's his security? He was somewhere
he was
on the street.
Yeah, standing in New York, just standing there. And then you could see, I said, well, wait a minute, there's a security guy there. There's a security guy over there. I mean, they were just standing there.
These are all top-level security
right,
people.
They were within 20 feet of him, but he was it wasn't like they were surrounding him like he had a posse that was, guarding him. But they were there. But if I was Bill Gates, I probably wouldn't do that.
Wouldn't be on the street that open?
No, I wouldn't be on the street that open.
Yeah. Well,
I might be in the limo.
Well, I've talked about being famously wealthy. I have a family member who works for someone. I don't know the person's identity actually, but the person is known. They're not necessarily a household name, I was told, but they are known, and they are a multi-billionaire, and the protocol in working for this person is very, very clear, very clear. And I thought to myself, and I've had this discussion, being famously wealthy, it would come with its own risks. Being famous in general comes with its own risk, but being famously wealthy, has draws certain types of individuals, and there would always be a threat. And of course, there's most often, a security protocol. And again, I don't know on that morning what was going on with Brian Thompson, and haven't seen yet what the security protocol is, whether it's company-driven or personal choice or what. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is that when you look at the mentality of people, I mean, there are people out there that simply aren't in their right mind. But you look at, in fact, one of our associate producers, Ron, was talking about the recent anniversary of the death of John Lennon, the killing of John Lennon. I mean, those are things that you can't, John Lennon and a lot of famous people. I mean, Jerry Seinfeld, when he's filming comedians in cars getting coffee, he's talked about this openly while he's surrounded by crew and everything else. I mean, they're out there during the daylight hours and whatever. But he talks about, he goes out. A lot of celebrities go out there in the open. There's kind of an inherent risk if you're known. But when you're attached as a CEO of a company, quite often. It is that mentality of, that grudge, whatever that grudge is, that has a great concern, for the safety. Ends up with a great concern for the safety of these individuals. And hopefully, number one, they can get this person off the street, the person responsible for Brian Thompson's death. But beyond that, I don't know what to say about people who have these discussions about, they should have blah, 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 blah. What did they think was going to happen? As if, again, there's some kind of, justification for this. It just
because I just saw the other day some of the complaints about Obamacare that people are just not taking it because it's too dang expensive. It's way more than they thought it was going to be, so they can't afford health care. Does that mean any government official is open territory?
Right.
Because I don't care what the health care system, you and I have talked about this before, Medicare for all. We can't do Medicare for some.
By the way, the answer to your question is no, of course they're not.
What?
Government officials are not.
Oh, no,
yes.
no.
Of course they're not.
Okay. I'm sorry. That was a given.
Yes, right.
Remember, though, we did take a stand on the show a long time ago.
We're against murder.
We did take we're against murder on the show.
We are against murder. 100% against murder.
The one thing I saw was interesting where there, a lot of law enforcement people said, well, the public has to get out of their mind that there are these trained professional assassins that are like we have John Wicks walking all around the place.
I was just talking to the guys in the control room about this. I said, what is that? Is that a section on Craigslist? Probably not. I don't think so. You're not going to, these pros, it was a pro. It's like, who are the pros? What are you talking about? I mean, I know like the cartels, they have people that they send to do jobs like that. But we're talking about, this Hollywood version of a pro, assassin. And it's like,
why haven't they checked that hotel right in downtown New York?
Right.
That's where all the assassins hang out, John Wick and everybody else.
Exactly right, yeah.
And don't you dare kill their dog.
Right.
If you kill an assassin's dog, but you go back to the 70s, especially go back to a lot of the 70s detective series and police series where they had, the guys who were in the suit, the suits and ties. We're going to fly somebody in from Europe, and they're going to come and assassinate you.
Yeah.
They'll be back in a plane, and you won't know who they are.
Right.
Now, I'm sure they exist. Remember the Jackal, for example?
Yeah,
with Bruce,
right.
Bruce
no,
Willis.
they do exist, but it's the way it was being talked about. It was like a pro versus, someone who's not a pro. And it's like, well, hold on a second.
Well, the pros may get paid, but you look at, for example, the clues coming up so far in this one. This isn't somebody who is a I don't know, a ISIS assassin maybe.
Right.
But then again, none of them are as good as the movies portray them.
Exactly. This isn't Hollywood.
866-90 Red Eye.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. When we're talking about, hitmen, whatever, because, that was what the first thing that came out of, the entire killing of Brian Thompson. And I was thinking of, remember the Iceman, Richard Kuklinski?
Oh, yeah.
The funniest thing is when I first saw that, the Iceman, Richard Kuklinski, one of my first radio jobs was with a guy named Richard Kuklinski from Central New York.
Wow.
And I'm not kidding.
Wow.
He was a dead ringer for Richard Kuklinski, the hitman. I'm like, is it the same guy? Is it the same guy? And
man.
It wasn't the same guy.
Wow.
But, man, I'm telling you.
Yeah. Long lost twin, maybe.
Yes. Yeah.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.